Put your pitchforks and torches down, people. Let me explain myself. What's going on, everyone? This is Joshua, Future Filmmaker 3940 Reviews, continuing my reviews of the Matrix movies with the review that I've been anticipating and really want to talk about besides the other two films. We're continuing with the original trilogy, and that is my favorite one in the series, The Matrix Reloaded.
Are you, fellas? He's just a man. Kill him. What if I asked you to stay out of this? No matter what, to stay out of the Matrix.
Why?
I can't lose you.
You're not gonna lose me.
The Matrix Reloaded, rated R, starts Thursday, May 15th.
So, The Matrix The Matrix Reloaded is the 4-year-long awaited sequel back in 2003, directed and written once again by the Wachowski sisters, stars the returning cast players Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Laurence Fishburne, Hugo Weaving, along with some new cast members like Jada Pinkett Smith, Harry Lennox, Harold Perrineau, Monica Bellucci, Lambert Wilson, and this is the final movie for Gloria Foster before her tragic death. And we'll get into that when I talk about Revolutions. Freedom fighters Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus continue to lead the revolt against the Machine Army, unleashing their arsenal of extraordinary skills and weaponry against the systematic forces of repression and exploitation. In their quest to save human race from extinction, they gain greater insight into the construct of the Matrix and Neo's pivotal role in the fate of mankind, where we get to know more about the one, but also at the same time, we have a lot more things going on for it. They have to go find this little program called the Keymaker so they can get him to the door that is most sacred, that leads to the architect, where he has questions of the Matrix. Beyond that, Neo also has to deal with the possibilities of Trinity dying, and he has to stop that. But also on top of that, he has to deal with his nemesis Agent Smith, who comes back with a vengeance and more stronger than ever. Now, when it comes to The Matrix Reloaded, this was released in 2003. I didn't see it when it came out in 2003. I first saw it back on cable twice in one day during the weekend when it was on HBO. And I watched it twice in that day. And at the time, I didn't know anything about what the reviews were like with this movie. I just wanted a fun movie. And I got a fun movie back then. But now that I am older, and now that I have looked at some of the reviews, and some people call this one of the worst sequels ever, some people call this one of the worst things ever. I think some people went into both this one and the next one, which is Revolutions, with predetermined explanations when it wanting the three main characters to go up against the machines and fight the evil. And in a lot of ways, some people walked away pretty disappointed. But to me, I think both of these sequels are very underappreciated. I think they're very ambitious in what it sets out to do in terms of its story, of telling the story of these three main heroes. They mainly are fighting good versus evil, but it's more philosophical, more metaphorical, and more ambitious with it. And when it comes to The Matrix Reloaded, I definitely do see I definitely do see some issues here, but I gotta be honest, The Matrix Reloaded is my favorite of the trilogy.
What? What the fuck? What the hell?
So, I'm gonna get into the reasons why I feel like it's my favorite of the trilogy.
Alright! Ready? Ready!
First off, of course, the cast does come back. You have the original 4 actors, plus the late Gloria Foster here. I want to start off with our 3 main characters, Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus. Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Laurence Fishburne. Each of these guys get a lot of massive upgrades from what they did in the last movie. Neo, as I said in the plot story with him, he's having visions of Trinity dying, and now that he is the one and he's free out of the Matrix, he doesn't know how to deal with it. He's not fully ready for the responsibility that he has, but he is coming into the full awareness of his powers, especially in massive upgrades. Like, he's more faster than the agents, he's stronger, he can fly like Superman, which is a pretty cool nod to Superman. And not only that, he is doing everything he can to make sure it thinks he is going to be the one to stop this war with the machines and the humans. And also, he has to try and keep Trinity from dying. And their relationship, this is 6 months after the last movie, so of course the relationship has grown over the course of those 6 months in between the first movie and this one. And Keanu Reeves, he's still fun in the role, he's still charming, his acting is still pretty solid, he's having fun with the role of Neo, especially in his fight scenes. And during the production of this movie, he actually took his own pay and gave it to most of the other cast and crew members who weren't getting his pay as much.
Kick-ass.
That shows how great of a guy he is, a humble guy. But also in terms of action scenes, he handles all of his action scenes very well. He's fun, he's likable, he's just entertaining to watch as Neo. Trinity, of course, Carrie-Anne Moss does come back, and I am very happy to see that they brought her back. I know she was scared about coming back for the second and the third movie especially, but it just, when she made it, she said it made it more special. But seeing her come back, she has some new stuff. She has the scorpion kick in the opening scene. She is much more badass in the movie. She is intent. She's a badass, she's charismatic, she's likable, and I buy the relationship between Neo and Trinity in this movie. It is a nice love story and a piece of science fiction, and I love these guys. I love both of these characters. They're a lot of fun, they're awesome, and I just have a lot of fun watching them in this movie. And on top of that, with her fears of dying, she knows that something's up with Neo, and I do like that.
What are you, Trinity?
I will not stand here and do nothing. I will not wait here to watch them die.
Trinity, we're talking less than 5 minutes here.
In 5 minutes, I'll tear that whole goddamn building down.
Hold it right there, little lady.
Of course, Morpheus, we do get some backstory on him, that he used to have a relationship with Niobe, played by Jada Pinkett Smith, which we'll get to. And then he went to the Oracle, and then he has this whole rivalry between him and Commander Locke, and he's trying to get everyone to believe that Neo is the one. He's going to be the one to end this war. The prophecy will be fulfilled. Morpheus, we do get some stuff with him. As I said, he does have some nice action moments, and Laurence Fishburne, like I said, this is one of his best roles, so he's still a lot of fun to play in this, and I think he's a lot of fun in this movie, is Morpheus. He's very fun, very likable, and he's very charming. And he does have badass standout moment himself. Hugo Weaving, the boy, Agent Smith.
You. Yes, me. Me too.
He comes back in this movie, and Agent Smith, I'm very happy that they got Hugo Weaving to come back for these last two, and that they just didn't replace him with someone else. Because Hugo Weaving, this is one of my favorite parts he's done besides Elrond in The Lord of the Rings. But it's really this role where he just gets to truly shine. He's intimidating still. He's even more badass as a villain. They do some stuff with him, like we do have some stuff with him where, because of what happened in the last movie, a part of Neo has been pointed onto him, overwritten and copied, and now he is able to have his own set of powers and abilities where he's able to clone everyone into him. And he's now a rogue agent who is no longer connected to the machines. So that does cause a lot more concern when it comes to him, and that's what I like him. He's fun in his role as well. Also, I do have to give a mention, this is the last movie for the late Gloria Foster, because during the production of this, Revolutions and Into the Matrix, she passed away tragically during the production, so they did have to get someone else for the third movie, which I'll get to in that. But for her final film appearance, the scene when she's talking to Neo, it's a very bittersweet moment, because it was a legendary actress and Broadway actress back in the day. It is bittersweet, but at the same time, it's nice. At least they got her back for one more movie before she tragically passed. Love the scene with her and Keanu Reeves. They're talking about the Keymaker and free will and his purpose is the one. I do like that stuff. We'll get into that. The new characters in this movie, of course, we have Jada Pinkett Smith as Niobe, which is funny because she was going to play Trinity in the first movie. And I thought she does a very good job here as Niobe. And she's a fun, likable, badass character. The one thing I do think the Matrix trilogy people don't give credit for is how many strong female characters there are in this. You have Trinity, you have Niobe, you have Persephone, of course, which I'll get to. And then you have Z for a little bit. So there's some good new female characters in here, and there's one aspect of the trilogy I think people should talk about more. But Niobe, I think she's a fun character. She's the commander of the Logos, and she's the former love interest of Morpheus, and now she has this relationship with Locke, but Locke is like no. And Jada Pinkett Smith is great, even in her action scenes. She has a lot of fun moments in this movie, and I did enjoy her as a character. It was very nice to have a black hero in a movie like this. Harold Perrineau plays the character of Link, which this is a substitute for the character of Tank in the first movie, because if you didn't know, Marcus Chung was supposed to return as Tank from the first movie, but after a falling out with the Wachowskis and the studio, his part was written to be killed off screen, and initially he was not asked back because he wanted more money and he disagreed with the Wachowskis and he wanted $1 million. So that whole situation got ugly to the point where they had to just write it to where his character died in the 6 months between this movie and the first movie. So in a way, that does suck that actor didn't come back, but at the same time, Harold Perrineau, he has a lot of fun in his role. I like him from stuff like The Best Man and Lost, and he's very funny. He's a likable, charming character, and I enjoyed him. His character.
He's doing this Superman thing.
Have other characters like Randall Duck Kim as the Keymaker, which he is one of the oldest exiles, and he's a computer program that creates shortcut commands and represent its keys, which is used by other programs to gain access to various areas in the similarity reality of the Matrix. So I liked him. Harry Lennox, of course, is in here a little bit as the character of Commander Locke. You have Counselor Hammond, Anthony Zerbe. You have Nona Gay as Z, which is the love interest of Link, which initially her part was supposed to be played by Aaliyah, but she passed away during production of this movie as well, to the point where they had to basically reshoot her scenes. If you do watch the Burly Man Chronicles documentary, and when you go to the tributes thing on the Burly Man Chronicles DVD, if you have the Blu-ray of the Ultimate Matrix set or DVD, you do see a little small clip of her on set. So yeah, that was pretty tragic as well. The guy from Catwoman shows up, the Merovingian, as Lambert Wilson is the Merovingian, which he's supposed to be in the new one. I don't know how, but I'm curious to see how that goes. So, but I think the French guy, he's one of the more interesting characters here. He just has this whole thing of cause and effect, and it was stuff going on with him. But at the same time, he is a villain. He doesn't want to give up the Keymaker. He is literally threatening the Oracle. But he's a good performance as well. Colin Shu is Seraph, which this part was supposed to be written. Initially, they wanted people like Michelle Yeoh and Lucy Liu for this, and even Jet Li was gonna play this part, but he wanted the same amount of money as Keanu Reeves, but that didn't happen, and so they got this character. So Colin Shu is Seraph. He does a pretty good job as well. But I want to talk about the character I really want to talk about, and that is Persephone, played by the lovely Monica Bellucci. It's
Kick-ass.
I can explain.
It's a great Italian actress. She is awesome. Monica Bellucci is one of the most respected actresses out there. She's still great. She's awesome, and I like her character in this and the third movie. She's basically bored with her existence in the Matrix, and anytime she kisses someone, it's a sample. And she is basically dissatisfied with the Merovingian because of his constant infidelities, and she even calls him out on his bullshit in one scene, which I think is very funny.
I am so sick and tired of his bullshit. On and on. Pompous prick.
The movie does have some pretty funny moments to it, but when it comes to Monica Bellucci in this movie, she offers to help Neo, and she is attracted to Neo, which is Keanu Reeves. And he offers to help them if he kisses her in the same passion he's kissed Trinity. And I will say she is very funny, but she's also very likable. And Monica Bellucci, she's hot. She's still hot.
Kick-ass.
But so just saying, we got it. And Keanu Reeves is like, really, I have to kiss this girl. But at the same time, it's Monica Bellucci. Who wouldn't want to kiss her? Just look at this clip. Also, I forgot to mention the kid from the Animatrix. Yep, he shows up here, and if you've seen the Animatrix, they do explain how. They explain why he is in this whole real world, because he's obsessed with Neo, saying that he's free, and because he's freed him. I liked him. There's a lot of cool new characters here. There's so many other characters here, as background characters like Counselor West, played by Cornel West. You got Anthony Wong as his ghost, Ian Bliss as Bane, who he plays a little bit more into the next movie, but his little scenes that he have is pretty good, where he's basically become the real world version of Smith after Smith does something to him. But yeah, everyone in the cast in this movie is awesome. Now let's get into the other stuff I want to talk about. What does Reloaded do better than the first movie? Well, first off, we have to talk about the action scenes in this movie. I want to talk about the action, of course. This is in my favorite action movies of all time. The entire trilogy as a whole, in terms of action scenes. There's a lot of action in this movie. So many great moments, like Neo fighting off constantly 80 Agent Smiths, but if more. And that whole fight is pretty fun for the most part. There's a lot of good physical fighting in the first half, and even a little bit in the second half. The third half of the fight, I will say it gets CGI heavy, which is one of my issues with the movie. Some of the CGI isn't photorealistic. I'll get to it, but I will say the action in this movie I think is very fun when it comes to that scene. That is my favorite action scene in the movie. It's crazy, it's over the top, it feels like an anime, but it's a lot of fun, especially with Neo fighting a bunch of them off, and then they just keep getting up, getting back on them, get off, get back on them, and then he's taking the pole and just whacking them with the pole, and then even until it gets to a point where he does the 360 kick, which I love that. And even the music in that scene, I think, is a lot of fun. Also, you have Trinity with the Keymaker. This whole freeway chase, it is at least a 15-minute long action scene, but that entire 15-minute long highway chase is awesome. I love that. It's a lot of fun. Great use of CGI and practical effects. You get Trinity and the Keymaker driving on a motorcycle. You have them having to face off against these two albino twins, which they turn into ghosts, which they do look like jellyfish, which are very older programs from the Matrix that can't be killed. I thought that was pretty fun. Even to the point where you have Morpheus actually cutting the tires. He slashes the tires with a samurai sword. The car goes upside down, and then he just aims for the gas tank and shoots the gas tank. I was like, that is a badass moment for Morpheus. It shows how Morpheus is more badass. Even to the point where you have Morpheus fighting one of the agents on top of a moving truck as he's trying to protect the keymaker, which that is a lot of fun. And he does the infamous Bruce Lee move that a lot of movies does where he's like come and bring it on. That's a lot of fun as well. You have, of course, Trinity riding her motorbike collapses and the entire security barriers, and that is all. Neo saving Morpheus and the Keymaker from explosion death, where they have to fight a bunch of Agent Smiths again, which Morpheus has one of my favorite lines in this movie.
I want everything. Would that include a bullet from this gun? Go ahead, shoot. The best thing about being me, there's so many me.
Also, I do have to talk about the Neo in the Chateau fight scene with the Merovingian with all the statues and stuff. Say whatever you want about Keanu Reeves as an actor, but as a physical actor, whether it's this and John Wick, he is well trained in the martial arts. He is well trained, and he's got skills on him, and especially when he is stopping bullets, which I always found that to be pretty funny watching this. Him stopping the bullets, and then the Merovingian's like, okay, you have some skill. And then when he's fighting his Merovingian's goons, the action in this movie is crazy. I love the action in this movie. Also, the philosophical aspects in this movie are still very good. Like, the philosophical elements in this movie were like purpose of life from Agent Smith. Like, why are we here? We're here because we're not free. And there's no escaping purpose, because without purpose we wouldn't exist. The universal cause and effect from the Merovingian, which I like. And yes, the architect speech, which I'll get to. That's another one of the things I will give to people who don't like this movie, is that scene with the architect. I'll go more into my negatives. I think the actor who plays the architect, Helmut Bacchus, he does a very good job in remembering all those lines of dialogue for this entire speech. And yes, for some people who saw this as first, I can see why they're confused. I was even confused when I watched the movie for the first time. But every time I watch that scene, when we get to that scene watching this movie, I find it fascinating. I think the idea of the other ones before him and how the one isn't meant to continue anything and such, and the source, I found that to be a very fascinating moment in the movie with Neo and all the TVs. I found that to be fascinating. It's interesting. And the various decisions and choices that he made so far in his own free will before becoming the one. The script is very dense when it comes to this, and very important to digest. It's a lot to take in. Even the architect's high level of vocabulary is complex and very difficult to follow. But with repeat viewings, and even watching the movie with subtitles or closed caption, or turn your volume up, or watching it on your phone with headphones, it's very good. It's very dense. I like that. I love that. But the main thing, like I said, the Wachowskis, they wanted to do something different and go the sequels in their own way. They're very ambitious, patient, and courageous, and we're very passionate about how these sequels will be executed. And that's why I respect this one and Revolutions, because it's fun entertainment. I like the fact that the Wachowskis didn't want to do the traditional thing that we've seen done over and over again. They wanted to be more metaphorical with it. They want to be more ambitious with it. And I applaud the Wachowskis for actually taking the chance. Because some movie sequels doesn't want to take ambition. Some people doesn't want their expectations averted. And when you do that, you get either one or two things. You get the fan base who starts hating on the movie, or you can get both sides where they just embrace it. And for me, I embrace the fact that the Wachowski sisters wanted to do something like this at the time. There's some quieter moments I do like. Yes, I know people like to bitch about the party scene, which I love. I'm going to be honest, that rave scene doesn't even last that long, so I don't know why that is a cause of complaints with people.
Shut up!
Let's continue this conversation in private, Patrick. I think some people are eavesdropping.
Well, how rude of some people.
Because when it comes to the rave scene in Zion, here's how I look at it. I see this as more of a human celebration, more of a calm before the storm. Like, the next movie, they might lose everything. So, it's only fair in this movie that if they're going to go out fighting, they at least throw a party. Because you never know when you will be able to do it again. And I like that. And some people has complained about the massive orgy with a lot of people dancing and harmony and the techno music, which that scene, I like that. I do love that party scene, and also the way it cuts between the party scene and also with Neo and Trinity off doing their own thing, where they're more intimate and personal. It's a good mix between this massive party and then something very personal and very, very intimate. But I also love the techno and orchestral music in this movie. I love some of the music and soundtrack here. Some of my favorite tracks in the score. You have Zion Fluke, which plays during the party rave scene. Have the incredible Chateau scene, which is awesome. You have Mona Lisa Overdrive, which is a mix of Don Davis and Juno Reactor, which plays throughout that entire action scene. Is a lot of fun as well. And I also very much like the music that plays during the Broly Brawl. I've explained the Broly Brawl, why it's my favorite, but I do like that moment. So it's a nice mix of orchestral music and techno music. And the CGI, for 18 years later, yes, some of it is good. Some of it is good. Some of the CGI is very good in the movie. I do like how it looks. It's very creative. It's very well done. They go a little bit overboard with the CGI, but yes. There is good CGI. A nice blend of CGI, miniatures, and practical effects. So, it's a blend of the three. And the Wachowskis, they were really trying with this. They were really trying to do some action scenes that have never been done before. Some new technology that's never been done before. Even the fight choreography and the costume design, the cinematography is a visually looking movie. And you get some more stuff with Zion, with the APUs, which in the first movie they mentioned their last defense system is the EMPs. Cut to this movie, and that's absolutely not the case. You got the APUs, you have defense systems, all of that is bigger in place when it comes to this movie, and I do like that. More thing I do like is I do love the relationship between the characters, especially when it comes to our three main characters and the relationship between Neo and Trinity. These two are a lover's quarrel. Is a very much a Shakespearean love story, which I'll touch on more when I talk to Revolutions, which this review is going to be pretty passionate, and that review is going to be a little passionate. And also, you do have them that they're here for each other. One is in love with the other. They love each other very much. Neo is doing everything he can to keep her from dying, keep her alive because he doesn't want to lose her. And yeah, but the relationship, it feels earned from the first movie. You get to see them progress as a couple. They're doing things here, fighting together, saving people together. It's like they're in this together for better and for worse, and life and death. So I do like that a lot as well. The mix aspect of this is, I will say, when it comes to the Commander Locke character, Harry Lennox, Dresser from the Five Heartbeats, he's pretty entertaining to watch in this movie on that end. On the other end, I will say he is a bit of a dick to Morpheus. Like, you wouldn't be sitting side on the ship for the rest of your life. And another thing I will say that I am pretty mixed on when it comes to the movie is some of the exposition. On one end, I see how the philosophical elements in the exposition plays out in the movie, and on one end, I definitely do appreciate it. And there is moments where I do find it's very genuinely interesting. But at the same time, it does get a little bit overstaying its welcome. Just a teeny tiny little bit. And I do wish it was a little bit toned down a bit. But at the same time, I think those scenes of exposition are pretty good. Now we're moving on into my negatives, and this is what I do have to say. As much as I am hyping this movie and defending this movie and praising this movie's defenses, is not perfect. Compared to the first movie, I don't think the story is the best. It's not a bad story. I do like the story. This is more of a part 1, part 2 thing. This is the big battle that they're hyping up for the last movie. So in a lot of ways, not everything gets resolved in here. And for me, that is a little bit of an issue with the story. But you know what? I do appreciate the fact that things are not as wrapped up so quickly. There is some iffy dialogue here at times, and a few spots that isn't the best well written. I feel like the Wachowskis could have cleared a little bit of iffy dialogue with some small things. The movie does go a little bit overboard with some of the CGI. Some of the CGI in this movie is really good. Some of it in this movie is pretty bad, and the biggest example of this is the Burly Brawl scene in the third half of the fight. Basically, Smith and Neo, they do become balloon people. You even have this one Smith flying up in air like a balloon, and then it just gets very digitized, mainly because it's taking place in a computer, but at the same time, you could scale back just a little bit from it. Just a little bit. But at the same time, I'm sitting here watching this, I'm like, I'm having a fun time with this. I'm having me some fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this. So, because there's a lot more good things I find in this movie with rewatch, even watching the movie with the commentary with the philosophers, that I can overlook some of the bad things. But I'm not overlooking a lot of this movie's problems, because some of that CGI is a little too much. And I will say there is quite a couple of moments in here where I will say some of the philosophical elements is a little bit on the nose, and there is some slow spots. So the first couple minutes of this movie, the first 30 minutes of this movie, after the whole action scene with Neo and the agents at the beginning, it is a little slow. But at the same time, that is also a little grievance I have. And the whole scene with the architect, I will say this. The one criticism, I will give you this. The architect, he does look like the KFC guy, and he definitely does. does look like Colonel Sanders. You just have to give him the rest of the stuff from KFC, like the gravy, the coleslaw, the macaroni and cheese, the chicken, the biscuit stuff. I couldn't help it. He does look like the KFC guy a little bit, with the all white on a little bit. All he needs is the glasses stuff. But with all that being said, flaws and all, The Matrix Reloaded is still a very entertaining, underrated sequel that is, I think, 18 years ago, a lot of people didn't like. If you're one of those people who did not like this movie 18 years ago, take my advice, temper your expectations, know what movie you're getting into, rewatch this movie, and I think you will appreciate a lot more things in it. Does it have issues? Yes. Do I think it's better than the first movie in terms of the story? No. But this is still my favorite of the trilogy. And for that, I think The Matrix Reloaded is an underrated sequel. And I think this movie has become a very misunderappreciated film along with the sequel ever since its May 15, 2003 release. Most critics and audiences love it, but most hate it. So, on my rating scale, The Matrix Reloaded is an entertaining enough sequel that delivers on the action, delivers on the performances. It gives us more than enough interesting ideas with philosophy and more ambitiousness to go along with. In a second installment, that still remains the best of the trilogy for me personally. And The Matrix Reloaded is very underappreciated. I'm gonna give The Matrix Revolutions an Epictastic. So, I'm sorry about how passionate I was in my review of this. This is probably going to be one of my longer reviews of the Matrix franchise. But in the comment section down below, what did you guys think of The Matrix Reloaded? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in the middle? All my social media links in the description box down below. Be sure to hit like this video, comment on this video. What is your favorite character in this movie? What's your favorite scene in this movie? Share this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to get notified when videos like this up. Stick around for my review of The Matrix Revolutions, which that's going to be even more passionate, but we'll go into the issues of that. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when I drop my review of Matrix Resurrections. And with that being said, you guys keep it cool, enjoying the Epictasticness.